I'm going to teach you the 5 steps you need to plan your own Umrah, to save money, to get the best options out there after helping 1.5 million Muslims around the world for the past 10 years find information, plan their own Umrah, and save thousands in the process. I'm Elena, the Muslim travel girl. We are going to be diving into a new series on how to plan your own Umrah. Because there's this misconception that Umrah is very hard to plan. And I guess it is because that's how agents have been making money from Umrah for all these years. And trust me when I tell you, Umrah and Hajj are very big business opportunities. Actually, you can plan and make your own Umrah without needing an agent, doing it yourself. And that's exactly what this series is going to teach you. I am going to be sharing with you insider tips and advice I would personally do, and then what I recommend you doing. And if you have been watching this channel or reading my website, you know I know what I'm talking about. After saving myself thousands, saving my students thousands, and after so many questions about DIY Umrah on this channel and on my website, I thought, why not create a series where inshallah it benefits you, gives you the confidence to actually book your own Umrah, because literally there are only 5 steps you need. Step number 1 in this whole process is to know your dates and your budget. By knowing your dates, you can approximately know how much money you need to spend on your Umrah. And Umrah during Christmas holidays will be way more expensive than in July. And I get this question a lot, when is the best time to book Umrah? And in reality, nowadays with low budget airlines and with, so much competition on hotels, it is getting busier and busier, and there is no really an off season. For example, just after Hajj, which is when I'm going inshallah for Umrah, is a little bit cheaper than when you go, for example, in October or in December, when there are more holidays, more Westerners go. And especially if you are in the West and you're watching this video, of course, flights and hotels will be more expensive. If you know your dates, several times per year, airlines and hotels offer quarterly sale. So for example, at this moment while I'm recording this video, Saudi Airlines has a sale of 15% to 30% discount on Saudi airline flight, and the same applies to Hilton and Intercontinental, which is IHG properties available in Mecca and Medina, and you can book those with approximately 30% discount, which if you know your dates in advance, and that's why I always say start looking approximately 6 months in advance, so then you can take advantage of these sales. Because if you start looking last minute within a couple of months, you will potentially miss a sale, and we don't want to be doing that. That's your number 1 step. Select your dates. Part of number 1 step is also knowing your budget, because it's very important to know how much money you have available to spend. I am a person who very easily can overspend on my budget. I'm working on that. Knowing your budget, you will also know what hotels you can afford and then start to monitor those hotels. And on muslimtravelgirl.com, I do have a full list of my favorite hotels, which hotels I recommend. So make sure you check it out. I am going to leave a link in the description with all this information for you. With knowing your budget, you will know. So for example, if your budget is 1,000 or 2,000 pounds for 4 people, you will know that you cannot afford the Conrad, which costs approximately 150 to 200 pounds a night. However, you could potentially be able to afford a hotel that is a brand new option, but you need to take the bus to get to the Haram. That is probably about 50 or 60 pounds per night, or dollars. And in this Umrah series, I will be discussing in a lot more details how you can actually find the best hotels, what options you have, how you can save money, insider tips and things like that. Step 2 of the process is decide what type of visa do you want to issue yourself. Do you want to issue yourself a tourist visa or a visa waiver if you're a British citizen? Alhamdulillah, Saudi has made it so easy to issue yourself a visa and accommodating many countries to be able to issue now a tourist visa, whether they're residents or nationals of those countries. So alhamdulillah, majority of you that are watching these videos will be able to issue yourself a tourist visa. And if you are a British citizen, you have the option of a visa waiver. You also can transit and have a transit visa, which allows you to do Umrah if you're flying with Saudi Airlines. And of course, you have the visa Umrah option that is available for countries that cannot issue themselves tourist visas. Step number 3 in the process is flights, of course, finding yourself the best flight deals. And now there's so many options flying into Saudi Arabia, from budget airlines like Wizz Air, flying for over almost £100 return from many European cities, to pretty much every international airline that arrives in Saudi Arabia. One of the things that I always do is monitor flights with Google Flights, because you can see the graph of how flights fluctuate throughout the months and the days before you book flights. Another option I really like when it comes to find flying is OpenJot tickets and also ex-UK tickets, because the UK has a lot of taxes that we pay extra. And if you get yourself a flight from the UK into Europe and then into Saudi Arabia, you can find flights very cheap, for example, with Wizz Air, but even with Etihad or Emirates, and connect into those countries. For example, in Medina, and then take a flight from Jeddah, you can easily combine that into one ticket called Open Job Ticket, and then you will save yourself a couple of hundreds. And I do have a course that teaches you how to use and how to find flights with Saudi Airlines for much less with using your miles. So you might want to check out this in the description. Step number 4 of planning your own Umrah is literally booking your hotels. And there are so many hotel options, especially when it comes to Mecca. There is so much competition, but now we have so many more options, and you can literally find hotels in Mecca for almost £30 a night. That will be a very good 3-star option. Some of my favorite hotels are the Conrad, the Mecca, the Intercontinental, the Swiss Hotel, and now we have Jumeirah and the Address that are within the Jabal Omar development. If you have watched my video on Jabal Omar, you do know I actually really like this side of town because it is close enough to the new masjid, but also it is close enough to walk to the Haram, to gate 79, which takes you straight down to the Kaaba, and it is less crowded in my opinion. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Do let me know in the comments. Step number 5 of this very easy process is transportation, and literally the last step of our DIY Umrah planning. You have several options when it comes to transportation within Saudi Arabia during your Umrah. The number 1 is the Haramain train. I do have an article and I do have a video here of what the Haramain train looks like, but the Haramain train is the easiest option when you are coming for Umrah. It is safe, it is new, it is high speed, so it goes up to 300 kilometers an hour, and I find it really fascinating, especially the children love it because it goes so fast. And it takes only a couple of hours to reach Mecca from Medina or Medina from Mecca. You can catch the train from the airport as well, or from Jeddah, or again from Medina to Mecca. One of the things I will say, and I mentioned that in step number 3, which was the flights, is you can have yourself an open jaw flight which lands into Medina. It's exactly the process I do personally for my own Umrah. I land in Medina and then I will rest there, take my time in Medina, of course pray and do everything I want to do in the Rauda, and then I will take the train from Medina to Mecca. And I do that because then I don't have to keep going Medina, Mecca, Mecca, Medina, etc. while I am in Umrah. It's just the easiest because especially if you're traveling from far away, it's much easier for you to rest in Medina, get rid of the jet lag, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally and physically after the long trip for your Umrah, and not rush into your Umrah, inshallah. And then you take the train to Mecca. If you land in Jeddah, my best recommendation will be taxi because it is much easier to get yourself into your hotel. The taxi from Jeddah to Mecca costs approximately 150 Saudi riyals. It is very easy to get. I do have a short on exactly showing you the process of how to get yourself a taxi, and I'm going to link this here. You can pay at the kiosk. Literally everything is signposted and it will take you from the airport straight into your hotel. Much easier than having to take yourself a train, because in Mecca and Medina, the Haramain train station is just outside the city boundaries. So it will take you 10-15 minutes and maybe 50 riyals for taxi to take you, from the train station to your hotel. The other option you have is to take a taxi from Mecca to Medina or Medina to Mecca, especially good if you are a large family or if you have a lot of suitcases, because there are restrictions on the Haramain train. It will cost you approximately $60-70 depending on what type of taxi you need, how much luggage you have, etc. It takes approximately 4 to 5 hours to do that if you are taking a taxi, so it is much longer, and personally I don't travel with a lot of bags, so I prefer the train. But again, this is the option you have. So you have basically two options, taxi or train. They did have a Subco bus, which was a bus that took you from Mecca to Medina, and they did have a VIP option on that, which was pretty cool. I really liked it, but it is not available anymore. I feel that because the train is so popular and they have so many trains every almost hour, that they have removed that option. So the only two options on transportation you have once you land in Saudi Arabia for Umrah is the train and the taxi. With regards to ziyaras, you have the best option if you are doing a DIY Umrah is to get yourself a taxi driver outside Mecca and Medina that can take you around, and you will be surprised that the taxi drivers there are extremely knowledgeable in the landmarks, and it's literally they're part of tour guides that can take you around and show you, the Masjid Quba or take you to Mount Arafah. You negotiate with each driver for your trip and for how much they cost, but it's approximately 200 riyals for a few hours of taking you around, and they wait for you while you pray and while you explore some of the places. The other option you have now is you can use Get Your Guide, which I do have a link in the description, for Mecca and Medina tours that you can take. In Medina, you have a bus, your hop off, hop on bus that you can also take around the most significant aspect, and you will have a guide and headphones that will be talking to you and explaining each one of them. You can also take electric bikes in Medina and bike from the masjid to Masjid Quba. There is a nice pathway that you can also take, and I find that it takes approximately 30-40 minutes depending on how fast you bike, but it's a great way of actually exploring both cities outside of the masjid and outside the Haramain areas. So really, these are the 5 steps you need to book yourself an Umrah. In summary, you have the dates and the budget. Make sure you know your dates, monitor sales, monitor your budget so you don't go over your budget like I do most of the time. Step number 2, decide on the visa type you are issuing yourself and your family, how many times you're going, whether you issue yourself a tourist visa or a visa waiver if you're a British citizen. Step number 3 is your flights. Monitor your flights with Google Flights. Make sure you book during the sale period so you save yourself some money. And of course, look at budget options. Step number 4 is hotels. Decide on the hotels you want, decide on the budget you have, and then monitor prices. Book them yourself, but book them as refundable options, because if you are booking way in advance, it's important to be able to cancel if prices go down so you can rebook and save yourself some money. Also, make sure you book during sales period. Every 3-4 months they do have sales, and again, check out my PDF free guide for you to benefit, inshallah. I share a lot of tips as well there. And of course, step number 5 is your transport and your ziyaras. The Haramain train is the best option in my opinion if you are coming from Medina to Mecca or from Mecca to Medina. But if you are arriving in Jeddah, then a taxi is a better option for you to get yourself into Mecca. And if you're arriving in Jeddah but you are going to Medina, then the train is a better option for you, inshallah. They have several trains every single day. 5-step process for you to book your own Umrah. Easy and simple. And in this Umrah series, I'm going to share with you so many tips and tricks for each part of how to save yourself money on hotels, on flights, and of course, how to pack, what to buy, where to buy things from. If you is something that you want me to cover, then make sure you drop it in the comments below so I know to make a note and include it, inshallah, in a future video. But if you like this video, if you find it beneficial, like, share, and subscribe, inshallah. And until next time, check out this next video for you. Assalamu alaikum.